Alright, and with that we should be live. Hi everyone, hi, I'm Cryptic Hybrid. Welcome to today's super special live stream, second of the day, because why the hell not? We have hours in the day and we like doing cool things, especially talking about cool games. The game that we're going to talk about today is Behind the Beyond, a game that I've been following for some time, and it's on Kickstarter, it has a demo out, and here to tell us all about the game and, you know, probably some spoilers. You know, I'm hoping to get some spoilers out of her. It's Kate from Sugarpunch Games. Hi, Kate. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
That's right. So, thanks for coming on. So, your game, Behind the Beyond, the team, Sugarpunch Games. First, let's talk about you and the other people working on the game. Tell us a little bit about your history, projects, gaming, non-gaming. You know, how did Sugarpunch Games start out, and what's your background?
Where do you want me to start? Like, how far should I go back in time?
How far you want? It's you know, it's dealer's choice.
Well, there's an interesting story, or a cute story behind it. So I might start there. So when I was about to go to university, so I had to pick which university I want to go to. I didn't really know what I wanted to do until I found a game which was Lionhead Studios Black and White. So it was around
2001
something ish. Yeah. So I was really into that game. I loved it. I just loved the whole concept of having the pet and then teaching it to do stuff, and that you could be either good or bad, and it was completely up to you how you want to do things. And it was funny, and I had a really emotional connection with, well, I had an emotional connection with the pet. So I was heartbroken when in the story, and spoiler alert, it was taken later, away.
It's fine.
Yeah. Some say it's not fine, so I wanted to warn anyone. So
yeah, but those people.
Yeah, so you
don't get it.
So you had this pet, and you spend hours and hours on training him and getting amazing stuff done, and then at the end of one of the worlds, it gets taken away from you, and I was heartbroken. That was the first time when I actually like screamed at my monitor saying no, and then you get him back, so it's fine. But but that was really the point when I said, oh, okay, this is good stuff. I want to make stuff like that. And so I picked a university to.
You thought of making stuff that makes people go no, like that, or just get emotional.
A bit both, I think. But yeah, no, it's also an emotion. So yeah, right. But so I chose to become a programmer, and I had hoped to start making games. And so the thing was that at the time there were a couple of like major game development companies in Hungary. So they made a couple of games that were like almost, I would say, AAA at the time. Mm-hmm. So and they were quite known, not just in Hungary, but other parts of the world. And so I went to university hoping to get to work for one of these companies. But by the time I finished university, they all shut down. Oh. So there was really, there weren't that many opportunities for me to do game dev. And so I started doing something else and almost kind of gave up on games altogether. And so I started working in business software, and I moved to London at some point, still doing business software. And then completely by accident, I met a guy only because we were going on a trip, and then we needed someone who could drive a car because none of us had a driving license. And so we needed a driver. And so some of my friends brought along a colleague who could drive. And it turned out that he used to work for Lionhead Studios. And I was like, immediately fangirling over that fact. And a couple of years later, he's my husband now. And so that's kind of how it started, because because as we talked a lot about games and how I loved games. I'm completely a gamer. And basically he inspired me and kicked my butt to to go back to games and start like actually doing some game dev. I did some hobby projects on the way, of course, but nothing like
Behind the Beyond. I mean, like a
like
commercial title.
Something
right.
that is commercial title or something like that. Yeah. So that's how we kind of started. And I had a different idea first. So I started working on a completely different game, and then we decided with my husband that we should start doing game jams because it's fun, and also it gives us a lot of ideas. So maybe we think of something that's worth making into a proper game, and we did, because one year in 2016, I think, when we made the
I researched
when we made the original
2016,
version.
Yeah. It's still on Game Jolt, by the way.
Yes. So that's when we came up with the original idea of Behind the Beyond for Adventure Jam in 2016.
And was that did you get a very good response from it, and that kind of pushed you into thinking that maybe we should settle on this, or was this project one that you liked so much that I want to make this one into a big game?
It's a bit both, because we did quite well in some of the categories, because back then they had proper categories, and it took them weeks to rank everyone, because there were professional judges for each of the categories, and it took forever to decide who was going to win. And so we finished we finished quite high, I think. We didn't win anything, but we were in the top 10 or 20 places in most categories. So we said, okay, well, there's something there. And there's also because we saw that this has potential. We originally, the story that we wrote for the game jam was much more epic than it actually came out to be. So we had to cut 2/3 of the thing because we couldn't really fit it all into the time frame, because we only had 2 weeks, I think, 3 altogether, because we had an extra week to write the story. But so we thought there's much more in this idea and in this game, and it deserves to be made into a proper full feature thing.
And you started working on it since then part-time, and then did you transition to full-time, or still part-time on it?
I was always full-time, because I quit my job and I started working on this other idea, and then did game jams on the side sometimes. And then we completely, after finishing that game jam, we completely switched to focusing on just this one. But I was the only one who was working full time on it, so we progressed very slowly.
Well, just one
because
person.
Of
Yeah,
that.
Yeah. I mean, that's normal. What did you have to learn along the way, as you were kind of on your own, making this?
Kind of everything, because I'm still doing about 80% of everything in the game. So that includes programming, most of the art, including animations and the background, and what we call technical art, which is, so we have someone who does the concept, and then I make it into the real stuff, the actual images that we use in the game. And on top of that, I'm managing people, because now we have people to manage. I'm doing PR. I'm doing literally everything else except audio, because that's the only one that I said, okay, I'm not gonna learn how to do that. Someone else deal with it, please.
It's can someone have this? Yeah. You're doing enough. Yeah, that's fair. Now, in terms of the because you said you do the art, did you have any, I don't know, passion or background? Like, did you, I don't know, draw as a, when you were younger, or did you have to like, oh, I'm starting from zero in order to do artwork for this?
As a hobby, I did,
Oh,
and I did a lot of web designs. I know it's not the same, like it's completely different.
I mean,
but
it's practice.
Yeah, because
it's still a skill, so it's not like, it's not.
Yeah, but one involves drawing characters and humanoids and stuff, and the other is just putting boxes in a nice arrangement and text mostly. So it's a bit different, but I had some practice, so I didn't have to start from scratch. I didn't have any experience with animation, like at all. That was a
hardest thing?
New experience.
You think was that the hardest thing? Learning, you think?
It took the longest, I think. Definitely, but most of it is, I think, is in learning how to use the different softwares that we used. Because we had like 3 different versions of the game. Like, I mean, we did a complete visual redesign, and sometimes we switched big chunks of the code as well in between the versions. And so in the first one, we hand drawn everything. So all the frames we did in it's like Photoshop and whatever the other person was using. And we hand drawn all the frames, and then we switched to an animation software which is called OpenToons, and so we have to redo everything, but with a different approach. So we are still doing frames, but we didn't have to draw all the frames one by one, but kind of use like skeletons in 2D, and then we could move the characters, and then it would just export kind of the animations into an image, into a sprite sheet, and then we would use that. And later we ran into a problem because we ran out of memory because we had too many sprite sheets and too big sprite sheets, and so we had to switch again. And now we are using Spine, which is completely a skeletal animation tool for 2D games. So I had to like learn 3 different ways on the way to make different animations. So that's a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a learning experience, and you find what's
Definitely.
best, and okay, from now on, right? Everything's going to be a lot easier for you. Like when it comes to animation, when it comes to like the software, you kind of like you went through the whole learning experience. So now everything is going to be not necessarily easier, but more straightforward, more streamlined. So that helps out a lot
Definitely.
with Behind the Beyond and future projects, whatever those may be, Behind the Beyond 2 and so on and so forth. Behind the Beyond. I don't know. You'll find a cool name. Now, when it comes to the setting and the inspiration, like what do you set for this specific, like kind of like, well, not kind of like Eastern European folklore, which, to be fair, is not really something that's very popular with games for some reason. Maybe they don't think, but it's untapped, right? But what do you think it brings to the table that you really want to have?
Well, that's exactly the reason why we picked it, because nobody really, outside of Eastern Europe, nobody knows these stories, so nobody knows about the folklore and stuff. So we thought that I hate that today, if you go to the movies or play a game or something, all you have is remakes, reboots, and so there's no original ideas anywhere. So we said, okay, let's do something that is original and it's not like anything else that's out there on the market. And I think that these stories are not inspirational, but they use sometimes they use fairy tales as kind of therapy. So if you encounter some hardships in your life, then you can look onto fairy tales and find a similar story that applies to your situation, and then you can look for a solution through the fairy tale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I mean, back in the day, when I say back in the day, like way, stories were pretty much, well, there were ideas that were passed on to future generations, and it was easier to make them in a metaphorical sense, not say like, when you encounter a snake, you leave it alone because it bites you and you die. But no, they made something like, and there was a snake and it was dangerous and they fled and so on and so forth. And I don't know why I'm losing my, sorry, I'm gonna, oh, I just lost a light bulb, so that's good. That's awesome. Sorry for being like also good that I have a ring light. So that's what initially stories were, right? There was knowledge that was imparted on future generations. And that was one great way to do it. And so they're timeless. That's one of the things, right? But they're also cultural. And when it comes to Eastern Europe, they have they had different hardships. They have different, well, obviously different enemies, let's say, different dangers, different lifestyle than others. So it's gonna have its own flair in that regard. So it's nice that you were going for this one. And was anything like, what was the research like for this, in terms of did you get 100 books with fairy tales and start reading?
Well, yes and no. So when we did the game jam, we didn't really have time for any research. So because we grew up on these fairy tales, we just said, okay, what's a typical Hungarian fairy tale? Okay, so let's have a guy who's the youngest son. Okay, what's he gonna do? He has to be poor. He has to leave home and go do something, find a job maybe. Okay, well then, okay, so how is he gonna find a job? And then obviously there's gonna be there has to be 3 challenges or trials that he needs to succeed, and then if he does it, then he gets half the kingdom and the princess. That's like one of the usual like setups of a typical folktale. So and as we went, we just sort of grabbed random ideas that we remembered. Okay, so there was that fairy tale where we had the geese, and then they did this, and then they did that, and okay, well then let's have some geese in there, and then they're gonna do something like that in the story, but we're gonna slightly twist it so it fits our story better. So yeah, in the core is basically just us going from memory and then trying to hook up all these different bits of fairy tales and then make it into one coherent story. And since then we took, well, not exactly a different approach, but we did do some research, both in with regards to like fairy tales. Fortunately, I don't have to do this bit all on my own anymore, because I have a helper who's gonna help me writing the story, so I don't have to read all the books, because she's gonna do it instead.
Oh, you hired a researcher to read 100 books? That's, I mean, you know what? If you have the budget for it, why not? It's interesting.
No, she's doing it for free, so that's the best part.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah.
She also knows this kind of stuff, because that's kind of her area.
What does she,
but
does she illustrate? Is she like an editor or something? Like a book editor? Because who would,
No, but
sorry, go ahead.
I don't.
You don't have
she's
to dox
she's
her, I'm just saying.
No, that's not. She's not a writer or editor or something, but she did. I think she did her thesis or something on something similar. So she is well read, So she knows a lot of, and not just Hungarian stuff or Eastern European stuff, but she also knows like Japanese or Asian stuff. And it's really funny because we had a couple of sessions where we kind of worked on the story. None of it is in the demo, so it's all going to be in the finished game. But she always tells me the stories that, oh, did you know that this and this bit is from Hungarian folklore is also present in like Asian cultures, but slightly differently. So there's a lot of like similarities in between different people that you wouldn't think there would be because they're so far away from each other, but there is.
I mean, you could make that connection, because right, in terms of the space, sure, but I don't know, take India, for example, and take Hungary. I mean, at some point in time, the steppe people, that's what they'll be Ukraine right now, came, towards, where Ukraine is now. So they were a lot closer. Yeah. They were probably trading with the people there. So it's like, we're all kind of like around this area. We're kind of like a big family, like the East and
yeah.
the eastern part of Europe and, like Asia, Asia up until maybe China. So it's actually a really interesting, like if you go, far back enough, there's a lot of, a big connection. There's a lot of, not only trade, but, intermarriage and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. And definitely, population movements.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
it's
so
just it surprised me. It surprised me when she told me, oh, did you know that in like Japanese mythology there's this story, and it's like, what, really?
Yeah, they had some geese, and they were like 3 sisters, and one was like, because it's always 3s. I don't know why there's 3s. Like it's like 3 sisters, 3 brothers. Like 3 challenges, like you mentioned.
Or 7.
Or 7, yeah. 3 and 7. They're numbers that constantly pop up in stories. I'm not really sure what's the. There's probably a book on that. Probably multiple books. Now, in terms of the kind of like the timeline that you'd say, what would be the equivalent to our real world? Let's say, is it something like medieval times, or earlier than that, a bit later?
It's hard to place because in general the folk tales are sort of timeless. So they some of them originate in like 15th or so centuries ago, and then it just evolved. It evolved as time passed, and then the elders told these stories also to the children, and so on and so on. So if I had to pick an era, that it would be sometime in between the 1500s and the 1800s ish, kind of, but it's all made up. So it isn't really a like a set time in it or anything. It's just like from the looks of the buildings and the clothes on people and so on. It's kind of that era somewhere. Okay. I know it's not really specific, but
we're not gonna have like steam engines probably or stuff like that, but there's magic, so that's obviously magic doesn't come from any specific point in time, so it's fine. If you need to go or something, just let me know. Just if there's like
it's fine. It's all dealt with.
I can hold the fort, just so you know. It's family is more important, just that's for sure. So I can hold the fort if you need to. Now, in terms of speaking of family, right? Actually, before we get to the family, so the intro is this. It's really sweet. And it's like the you have like between the glass mountains and the never-ending sea, and it's like, is this a setting that you've created thinking that there's more to this place, or are you just making the setting for this specific game? It's like, no, this is the world of Behind the Beyond, and if we're going to do something else, it's going to be in a different world, because it seems like a smaller, it seems like a smaller world, like a very enclosed world. How the way it's presented, at least in the intro, it's like it's between these very specific lines, and this is where the everything happens, and it seems like a smallish world.
It's again yes and no. A lot of my short answers are going to be yes and no. So all of these places, including Behind and Beyond, the Glass Mountains, and the Neverending Sea, these are the typical places that are used in Hungarian folktales. So usually, not usually, like literally all the Hungarian folktales start with some version of how we started. So it's once upon a time,
Right.
and then you have to say a place, which is it's completely fictional. But there are a couple of places, like Behind the Beyond is it's originally it's called Hetet Hét Ország, which literally means like the seventh country or something. So it's like also the 77th, and it just means it's very far away. It's an unspecific place that's very far away. And if it's over the Glass Mountains, because it just means that it's so far away that you will never get there, because it's difficult to get there, because you would have to climb a mountain that is made of glass. So how would you climb a mountain that's made of glass? And the Neverending Sea is the original name of that is Operenciás tenger, or Operencia.
Yeah. Sorry, it's like it's such a melodic language. It's like don't.
So Operencia is also a way to say that something is far away. Right. It may or may not exist, but it's definitely too far away for you, the listener, to ever get there. So don't even try. But technically you could. So you can't really tell if I am lying, making up the story, or is it actually real, because it sounds like a place. But it's completely made up. And we think that, or some people think that the name Operencia is from a misheard German term, because there's a river, I think it's a river, called Der Enns. And there are a lot of places where they call something Ob der Enns, which means over the river Enns.
Yeah.
And Op der Enns, they just misheard it and said Operenz. Okay, let's call it Operencia. Whatever, they're not gonna notice.
Right. That might be.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
It's still based on something. Like, I mean, like back in different times. Obviously, mountains were natural barriers in between. Like states, kingdoms. So those were always. People knew that there's something beyond the mountains, but it's hard to get there, and that's like a big wall that keeps us from them and them from us, and so on. And the seas, obviously, they were always, like hard to pass, long journeys. You don't know where you were going, so yeah, of course, it's gonna be, it's an easy thing to be like, oh, it's just beyond the never-ending sea, because it was never-ending for the vast majority of humans. It was when they went to sea, it was never-ending to them, because they were probably. They'll probably die before they reach the next land. So that's it's not specific, but it's still based on things that people knew from their day-to-day lives.
Yeah. So it sounds real enough that you believe that something like this could actually happen, especially if you're a kid.
Well, sorry, I thought it was real. I mean, come on, it has to be somewhere. It has to be beyond. We just haven't discovered it yet. All right, so tell me, so this kingdom, from the demo, we can see that there's magic in it, right? At least to some extent. Yeah. What's the place of magic within the kingdom of Behind the Beyond? Well, what's its place there? Is it like used by sorcerers? Is it evil? Is it good? Is it both? Is it banished? Is it seen in a negative way, positive way? How is magic perceived in the kingdom?
Okay, so now we're getting into spoiler territory.
if you can say like, oh, can't spoil. Sorry.
I'll try to keep it to a minimum, not spoil the story too much. It's just about the setting of the game. So there's one kingdom, Behind the Beyond, and it is surrounded by like the never-ending sea and the glass mountains. There's actually going to be another kingdom that's over the glass mountains, and there's going to be 2 more sort of, well, let's say kingdoms, or different worlds. Maybe that's better to it's better
feudal.
It's a better description.
Like what like I don't know, microstate. I don't know. Like I'm thinking of like
No,
medieval terms for like
it's It's also it's a magical thing, because it's also from folklore that is it's believed that there's a tree, the tree of life, or the tree that touches the sky, and if you find the tree and then you climb the tree, either up or down, then you can go up to the upper world, or down to the nether realms, where the devils and so on live. But it's good to know that it's not the Christian devil, so it has nothing to do with Christianity, but it's like the bad guys.
I mean, back I don't know how they're in Hungarian. For it's like strigoi, because that comes from around here, which is funny that it's that's been used, because they're like kind of vampires, all sorts of monsters like that. So it's like werewolves. Technically, we had something like that around this area. So it's interesting that those types of monsters exist, and I'm guessing that's what they're not demons. They're just creatures that are evil, and they're I don't know, monsters that they're transformed.
I wouldn't even say evil. It's just a different world with slightly different rules,
right?
And different creatures. And so
they steal babies. They steal babies. So that's so that's kind of evil to me. I mean, it's fine if you don't have anything like that.
If they steal it, yeah. But oh no, there's definitely going to be some controversy around people going missing. But again, if you know beforehand that you made a deal with the devil, and you have to pay him something, then deal's a deal. So you're gonna have to pay it. So it's not like they're gonna just steal babies or anything. But
they're gonna come with you like, we have a contract, so you have to honor it. So we need your firstborn. So that's how it says, like you put your name in blood here. Okay, now
exactly.
I mean, that's I mean, probably it wasn't contract back then, but you give their words, stuff like that happened. In stories, it's like no one signs contracts. It's like he's given his word that he would do, he promised that he would do, and so on and so forth. Tell me about the main
I haven't.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I just noticed I haven't actually answered your question. So all the different realms treat magic slightly differently. So behind the Beyond is more of the human world, where you have some sort of magic, but it's not available for everyone. So there are certain like witches or elders or usually wise people who possess some sort of magic, and in the upper and the lower worlds is more common, but they use it differently. And then there's the fourth. Was it the fourth? Yeah, it's the fourth kingdom, which is over the glass mountains, where they figured out that actually anyone there could use magic, but somehow they are running out of magic or mana, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be their struggle. They have a world that is relying heavily on magic, but they're running out of magic.
Right, they're highly dependent on it, and they don't have enough. See, that's why you need sustainable magic, which is I don't know what,
exactly.
But yeah. It's like their carbon footprint. It's too high. Well, the magic footprint is so high, and they have to lower it. But that's very interesting, because I mean, it's so all of these. Will we see all of these 4 worlds in the full release? Is that the plan for the? Okay, so the player will go. And how?
Not to the same extent. So not to the same extent. So most of the story is in the human world or in a Behind the Beyond, and but you can you will have some opportunities to visit all 4 or the other 3.
Then is it going to be like once you that places are, let's say, unlocked or available, like will the player be able to just go freely, or is it like, no, this chapter or this specific quest is here and then you go back to Behind the Beyond and so on? So it's more like a linear fashion, or?
I would like to keep it non-linear because I'm a fan of non-linear stuff, but that it also means that it gets much more complicated, the whole story and the whole implementation. So I know that we're gonna have to draw the line somewhere and say, okay, this part is going to be linear, because otherwise we would just never finish, because we would have too many options and too many possibilities to cover. But I would like to leave the opportunity open to travel in between the worlds. So once you've unlocked the way of traveling into one of these worlds, because obviously they are all separated in some way from the kingdom Behind the Beyond, because if you figure out how to climb over the glass mountains, or how to climb up or down the tree, then after that you should be able to travel freely in between those locations. That's the plan, at least.
That's what you want to do. That's the whole. It's like, you know what, you just work alone for another three years, and you'll make it eventually. It's gonna be like that. It's gonna work, and then we come, when we finish it. So let's talk a bit about the protagonist, because he's very, like, it's like he's nice and blonde and blue eyes, but he seems like he's just the everyman. So he's a poor boy from a poor family, which is nice because we can put some Queen in here, Queen reference, but he doesn't seem to have anything special about him, at least not initially. That's nothing presented. It's like anyone can be him. Like any person can be Johnny, and it's not like he's the chosen one. There's no, the beginning doesn't show you that he's special or he's chosen or he has a mission. It's like he just wants to do something with his life, and that's how you start. Was this the idea to make a character that it's more easily for people to
relate
to? To relate to, because he's not, anyone has, maybe siblings and whatever, or wants to do something with their lives, and it's like, what am I going to do? And they don't know. It's just the whole world is in front of them, and they have to just go and, find their fortune.
That's basically it. First of all, that's one of the tropes that's commonly used in the folk tales, that you have kind of a nobody who is going to go on magical adventures and then solve the thing that nobody was ever able to solve before him. So in that way, he is special, but not in a way that he was chosen or anything. So it means that he could be anyone. So or better yet, anyone could be him. So that's one of the points, and the other one is that there's this thing. So why is he the third? It's usually the third or the seventh or the 12th and so on.
The youngest
child
it's
goes,
always the youngest.
It's always the youngest, but it's usually there are usually 3 or 7 or 12 or even more siblings in the families of the adventurer, and the reason for that in folk tales is repetition, because it's a tool to teach children these rules that you mentioned, that if you're in a situation, then you should do this or that and not go the other way. And so usually it goes like there are 1 or 2 or more tries before they show you the good solution, or maybe the only solution. So it's also a common tool that the first 2 brothers or sisters
fail,
are mean, or or lazy or don't want to do stuff, and so they go the wrong way, and then comes the smallest, and then he does all the right, or he or she does all the right things, and that's how you teach the listeners that, okay, so see, this was wrong, they failed, they got bad things as a result, and then there's this guy who does the right thing, and he gets all the reward and the happiness, and gets the girl, and so on.
The happily ever after. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Now, when it comes to his brothers, I'm sorry, but from the story, his brothers seem a lot cooler than him. So I really want to see how you're gonna make them. I don't know, like the bad examples, let's say, or if that's what you intend, because both of his older brothers seem like they have an idea of what they want. They have shops in the little town, so we don't see them in the demo. We'll see them, and interact. Yeah, in the full game we're gonna see them, interact with them.
Yeah.
But
you can see their shops in the village already. It's just closed, but they will be there. Yeah, and I'm not gonna elaborate
Spoil.
more on their stories, because that would be major spoiler. But they both have big parts in the main story, and as well they're gonna have their own sort of side stories as well.
But they're not playable or in any sense of the world. Okay, but someone who is technically, well, to some extent, maybe playable, or a sidekick is the fox, right? The fox that we see in the demo. What was the plan with the fox? Why introduce it? Why introduce this kind of magical element to this to the human world, right? Because this is the place where it's it's closer to our reality, where there's less magic.
I think originally that was also just a random idea that, how cool would it be to have like a companion that's also a magical talking animal? Talking animals is also a common element in Hungarian folktales, and usually if you do them a favor or help them or something, then you get something in return. And like the magical flute that you get, which you can use to call the fox later on, is like one typical magic item that usually comes up in folktales. But I kind of like the idea that there's some sort of duality in between the two characters. So there's Johnny, who is like with all the yellow hair. He looks like he has the sun in his hair, or as his hair, and he's male, he's young, he's naive, and doesn't really know anything about the real world yet. And then he's gonna get this companion who's a female, a fox, and does all sorts of like this adventuring stuff, and obviously she has at least some sort of magical power. So there's a bit of contrast in between the two characters, and she usually operates by night, so there's like this day-night difference in between them as well. So I like the idea that there's you have this sort of team who are kind of opposites, but they work together well.
And would the fox be kind of the more knowledgeable? Because is she more knowledgeable of of the world, and is she kind of like not necessarily a mentor, right? But it's someone who Johnny can come to if he wants to learn more about the world.
If in terms of magic and adventuring, maybe, but not in like
history or
like history or anything. Yeah. For that we have the elder. So he's gonna be like the walking lexicon.
Well,
he knows everything.
Yeah, he mostly just sits down all day. Yeah, it's all bones. What you do, and
more or less walking.
I mean, we can help him a little bit, but yeah, it's So any other? Because obviously in fairy tales, there's always the bad guy. It's and usually it's very well thought out. It's not diffuse. It's not confusing. It's like, yeah, this is the bad guy, and you get the characteristics. In Behind the Beyond, what would be the antagonist? Because from the beginning we don't have anything like that. Literally, just Johnny goes out to find his place in the world, and that's a very anything can happen. Basically, that's I like how it starts, and literally anything could happen. You don't know what's gonna happen until you actually play. But usually fairy tales have a goal, a good result, and something bad that's in between our hero and that good result, that great result, that happiness, happy ever after. So in Behind the Beyond, what are you thinking of doing in terms of the antagonist or the challenges, the biggest challenge for Johnny?
The biggest challenge, well, there's not going to be like a clear antagonist. So it's more about the challenges that he's going to face, because he will be presented with seemingly impossible challenges. That's also like a typical fairy tale thing that say, okay, like get me a star from the sky, like literally. Yeah. And then he says, okay, well, nobody's able to do that. And there comes this guy, and then he actually does it, like brings an actual star from the actual sky. And then there's everyone is like, whoa. So it's going to be more along those lines rather than having a bad guy who is working against you. Mm-hmm. Or is it?
Oh, come on, don't do that now. Seriously. It's like, no, there's no one evil guy, but there's one evil king in the other. There's some demons. There's this devil in another kingdom, and he does this. And there's this, witch. Oh, they have to be witches, and witches can be good or bad, so we don't know. That's depending on what you want. Now, jeez, you had to throw that in there. Seriously, it's like, it's good. Yeah. It's just like, god damn it, like can't get a straight answer, But that's good. It's good because it keeps the the curiosity in, right? I mean, obviously, it didn't want to spoil anything, but it's still. Now, from the people who play them, by the way, there's links in the description below if you want to play them or you're watching. Just download it. It's available for free, so you can just get it, download it, play it, and show it to others. And in the demo, it has kind of like two specific parts, in my view at least. It has the classic point-and-click adventure tropes. You talk to characters, most of them are funny and like comical, and you have challenges and you find items, you combine them, and you do something. Also, you put in the skills, Johnny's skills. And I was really thinking, like, what was the idea behind these RPG elements? Was it, from the beginning? Was it after the game jam, I mean, was it something to enhance the genre, to make Behind the Beyond stand out, to give more opportunities when it comes to puzzle solving? What was the concept, the starting concept from that?
Kind of. There's I think I can think of multiple things as the reason why we did that, or why we went that way. Let's start with the funny one. My husband was he's really into Dungeons and Dragons, mm-hmm. and other sorts of pen and paper RPGs. So he dragged me into that, and basically most of our friends. So we used to play D&D like once a week.
Wait too much. Oh, or just once a week. That's fine. Okay, that's responsible. D&D. Okay.
Yeah. So we like really had we picked like one day that we usually get together, usually at our place, and then we would play an epic campaign for, I think it was over a year and a half. Wow. Or something. So yeah, it lasted quite long. Although I have heard of campaigns running for a decade or so. So
yeah, but those are people from Reddit.
It's not the longest.
It's like those are people who write too much on Reddit and edit Wikipedia. So they're not exactly human like we're human. There's a different type of person. So yeah, you don't want to go. You don't want to go and try to break the record. Let's just say that.
Why not? It's fun. It's fun to play pen and paper RPGs. I like it. I actually like it. We tried a lot of different systems. So because some say D&D is too complicated, or some say, yeah, this is the only edition that works, and all the others are crap. And then the other half says, no, that other edition is the only one that works, and the other half is crap. So we can't really agree on on just one style or one set of rules. And then there's also other other systems now for different, like there's a Star Wars setting with,
of course it is. Wait, is it like actually Disney approved, or is it, you know, some people made
it's
it?
No, it's FFG, Fantasy Flight Games. They're a board game publisher company, and they have a division that deals with RPG stuff, like this pen and paper RPG stuff. And they have a system that's called it's called Genesis, I think, with a Y in the end, Genesis.
Wow.
And
so 80s. It's like, we're gonna call it Genesis, but with a Y, and it's like, are you
with a Y?
Yeah. So cheesy, you know, cheesy 80s, you know, like extra with an X, extra, you know, stuff like that. You know?
Yeah, so it's that, and they have different settings, and one of them is Star Wars. It's quite fun, and it works. And we tried another one that's called Cortex. That's the latest one. It's the FFG one, the Genesis. If it has, it still has dice, but it doesn't have like the numbered dice, but they have icons. And if you throw the dice, then you, it doesn't just say, okay, did you succeed or not? But it also says, apart from whether you succeeded or not, there are some other narrative stuff that can happen. Like if you say, okay, you succeeded, but something else that's going to hinder your overall campaign also happens. And then
so
this new one is
more complicated. Great. They made it more complicated.
It's more narrative. It's more narrative.
Yeah.
But although there's usually, when you throw the dice, then there's usually, my husband knows all the icons by heart, because nobody can remember the icons, and nobody bothers looking them up all the time. So when we throw the dice, we just ask, okay, so what does that mean? And then he tells us, okay, that means like 3 success, -1 thingy, and plus, and so he's basically the living die icon
Whisperer.
Calculator. Yeah.
Come on, that's so much
die
better.
Whisperer.
Yeah. So
we do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we like it, and we thought that maybe this would be a fun experimental thing to add to your point and click. We also thought that when we were testing the demo, and then we played, like, I think I played the demo like 1,000 or maybe 5,000 or even more times. And there was one bit where we thought, okay, so we need to get a piece of gingerbread from the gingerbread salesman. And small spoiler coming up. So we thought, okay, so we could just talk to him, and then maybe say something, or he gives us the gingerbread. And then we thought, well, okay, but it would also make the same amount of sense to try to maybe steal a bit, because he has like hundreds, and they're all stale anyway. So who's gonna buy them or eat them? So he doesn't really need them. He's just too greedy to throw them out.
I like how you're rationalizing him stealing. It's like, well, it's not as bad because he has so many. It's like, but to be fair, it's a point-and-click adventure game, so your character will steal at one point or another. It just happens. Definitely,
yeah. So we kind of thought that, okay, we have 2 ways to go. And first of all, we thought that both seemed equally legit ways to do. But we also
less moral, but sure.
Well, yeah, but still, it would be considered a good solution in an RPG sort of fantasy setting. And we thought that, okay, so if you want to sweet talk him, it seems to us that it's too easy to just go and talk to a character, and then you would have one option that says, okay, can I please have this gingerbread or something, and then he just gives it to you. So we said, okay, so why not have an extra button, or make this option a little bit harder to unlock by having these skills that you can improve. And so if you have enough experience in sweet talking characters, then you would have this option. Otherwise, you wouldn't. And it goes, and then we said, okay, well, we can't just have one button because that looks stupid. So we said, okay, we
added more buttons.
We added more buttons.
And then we added the dice with 64 sides, and then we, that's how it goes. It's like it doesn't stop.
Yeah. It kind of makes sense the same way with the dexterity stuff. So if you want to steal something, then again, it doesn't. Maybe sometimes it doesn't make sense to be able to do it just right away, because you're just a random guy from a poor family and you just started adventuring. Then why would you be so skilled that you can already trick everyone and then steal whatever you want?
Yeah.
So if you want to go down that way,
exactly. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for you to have all those abilities from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing, if I can give live feedback. Initially, when I first played, the first screen when it shows the wheel with the skills and the actions available, to me it was a little bit. It wasn't necessarily overwhelming, but it seemed like, oh, this is a bit. You know what I mean? It was I was taken aback a little bit. And I was thinking, okay, how is this gonna work? But actually playing, it's very natural. You do certain actions, and those certain actions are going to increase your dexterity, charm, your strength. So it's never like something that you necessarily have to focus on. And it's not in the back of your head so much. And it's just you do something and you get something in return, and then you can use that to solve a puzzle somehow. Like, it was really fun because I increased my strength and did a puzzle with a doll, let's say, in a way. And then I saw someone else playing. Actually, I saw you playing. What am I saying? Because you were playing in the live stream, and you did it in a different way. Like, oh wait, you could do that. And I was thinking, and that's really cool, because then people will come back to it, and it's not like it forces you to go to a specific thing. It's not like, oh, you know what, when you play Behind the Beyond, you should max out your strength, or something like that. You should go for that right away. It's like, whatever you do, it's gonna give you some increase in skill, and that's gonna unlock new abilities, and that's it. New options, and that's it. It feels very natural. So at least in the demo version, I think it works really well. So kudos to you for doing all that. Because it worked really well. I mean, because again, it looks more complicated than it actually plays. That's basically what I'm saying. Yeah. And it works really well. And it's I don't know what other feedback, but can you max all those things out? Is that something that as you progress, the hero becomes stronger and stronger? Is that going to be the thing, or are you? Yeah. So you're not thinking of limiting, maybe like you can't have it all, like all three skills. All three things maxed out. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, you could have some advancements to each skill, but not every skill can. You
probably. Well, I don't see why. Well, or we haven't thought of a situation why we would have to limit this thing, other than the number of points that you can get from the game. So it's not. It's like there's no sense in like choosing between the different paths. So if you want, you can max out all of them, because nothing is really going. None of these skills are going against each other. So you can be nice, but you can also be strong, or you can be strong and skillful, or dexterous. Is that a word? Let's say it is. So they just they don't cancel. Agile. Yeah. So they don't cancel each other out. I really liked. I kind of nicked the idea from Mass Effect, because I really like Mass Effect, and especially I can't remember if it was in all of the, was it in all of the games? But there was the Paragon and the Renegade options, conversation options.
Yeah.
And then you can it makes sense that one is going against the other, because you're either the good guy or the, well, not necessarily bad guy, but the nice guy and the not nice guy. But the charm and the strength and the dexterity, they don't work. They don't necessarily work against each other. Sometimes they do. They might, but at the moment, I don't see any reason why they should.
Well, if you're I don't know, like classic tale, you want to put a thread in the smallest of needles. You know what I mean? Like if you maximum strength and the maximum dexterity, it's like, nope, I still can't get it. It doesn't work. Because that's maybe that's going to be a limitation. But other than that, I get it. It's, but it's I think it's a really cool like addition to it. And is this going to mean that is this going to lead to like different paths for Johnny when it comes to, depending on what type of skill you use to solve what challenge? Is this gonna kind of diverge the story, or maybe some outcomes one way or the other, leading
slightly, yeah, or so you will have to think about things like, is it more let's say profitable for me to be nice, or to trick this guy, or use force there? Because it could change the perception of you from other characters' perception of you, if how you deal with different situations. Not necessarily puzzles, but in point and click, everything is a puzzle. So
and would that lead to different endings, or are you thinking, no, this is the ending, and you're gonna go through it and you're gonna live happily ever after?
Endings, that's slightly different. So the skills are more about how you want to achieve what you want to achieve, and not about what you want to actually achieve. So if the different endings and how different side stories or side missions end is more about your choice of what you do, because you can, again, sometimes you will have different solutions to the same problem. Now they might or might not have the same outcome. So there's it's very complicated. It sounds very complicated. It's really simple in a way that you just do whichever you want to pick. That's the main idea. But so you will have different ways to answer maybe a moral dilemma, for example, and that might change some of the outcomes. Or you're just you will be just presented with a choice where you can just pick your preference, your personal preference, and not just like, okay, I know that this guy would do this, but I think actually this is the right idea. Or I want to go. Do you want to go for the money, or do you want to go for the girl, or do you want to go for? Or it's just an example.
Yeah,
so it's all about choices.
And choices that don't necessarily impact the game, like because in a lot of games, if not most, you make choices based on, okay, so how is this going to advantage me later on in the game? It's never like you know what, this is what I want to do. It's like, okay, I want to do this, but this choice is going to give me an advantage later on, and that's why you do it. So it's not exactly, so you're playing so you get better in the game, so you get better outcomes. You don't necessarily play the way you want to play.
Yeah.
So that's a big limit. Well, it's a limitation to these choice options. In other games, in Behind and Beyond, it seems to be working fine. So that's I'm not knocking anything. Now, the visual style. Can you tell us a little bit about where this came from? Because it's like a caricature, but it's not. It's it reminds me of a book that I've read. It was a fairy tale book, so it reminds me of kind of those illustrations from actual cool. fairy tale books from here in Romania. So it's at least, but it's I can't really place it somewhere. So where does this? What style is this? Where does it come from technically?
It's a mix of a lot of different influences. One of the main influences is a cartoon series that was popular in Hungary, and it was about Hungarian folktales, and it ran from the 70s until 2000 something, 2010-ish or so.
Did it have like a weird name like Magyar Vésélásról Varsóval, something like that? Like
Magyar népmesék.
Really? Oh, that was okay. That was
so it's just like literally, yeah, népmesék.
Okay.
Hungarian folktales.
Nice.
That's like literally it. That's the title of it. It's on YouTube if you want to look it up. You just
really?
I think if you search for Hungarian folktales just in English, it should bring it up. Some of them even have like English subtitles because obviously they're in with Hungarian voiceover. But
obviously I want to learn Magyar. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But if you want to understand the stories, then it's probably for at least for the first time it would be beneficial to have the English subtitles. So that's one. That was a big influence because I used to watch it a lot when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And it was made by this very famous director and animator called Marcel Jankovic, and he passed away just like this year, in the spring. And he made a lot of pop, is it called culture?
Pop culture references?
Films. No. It's just like he had trying to find the right word, but I can't. But anyway, so he was famous, quite famous, like not just in Hungary but outside Hungary as well. And he had this really unique, like almost psychedelic visual style in his works. And yeah, he was. I've got a quite funny story regarding to that. There was one time I was lucky enough to go to San Francisco and attend GDC, and we went to this indie game show and tell pub kind of event. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of indie game devs in a pub drinking and then showing their games to each other. Basically, that was it. Mm-hmm. And there was this guy, so we had different tables, and then everyone could have a space for like an hour or so, and then people could go around and then try everybody else's games. And there was this one guy from Brazil. And so he had the demo, not this version, the previous version. It was between this and the game jam. So it wasn't that good as it is visually, as it is now, but it was much better than the game jam version. So we kind of had, this was like kind of our first public demo, so to say. And so there was this guy from Brazil, and he said after playing the game, he said to me, your art style is very weird, but in a good way. It's beautiful and it's weird, and it kind of reminds me of this movie that we learned about in university. It's called, I don't know if you know the title. It's called Fehér Lófia. And I mean, like, yeah, I know this guy. It's like the son of the white mare. I mean, yes, I know. That's exactly the guy who made the same the cartoon series that has the major influence in our art style. So he said, "Oh yes, okay." So it's clearly visible in our style. Also, it's so fun that people know this story, this movie, like. There was this random guy from Brazil, and he said, "Oh, by the way, do you know this Hungarian movie?" Right. So yeah, it was quite amazing.
I mean, if it's good artwork, and it's like obviously if he was studying something like this, he would get the influences from other places, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like someone finally noticed like knows our style. Yes. Yes, I'm guessing a lot of people like the style. That's not neither here nor there. But to recognize it, it's probably like that's a nice feeling because like yes, we were exactly going for this. So yes,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah, yeah. So it's clearly there and visible. And then the other one is just because I really like, I especially like LucasArts point and clicks. And then the other artist who was coming up with the character concepts. Her favorite is Day of the Tentacle. So basically, when I was looking for artists, because I'm really shit at coming up with characters, like I can't draw them. I can't for the life of me. I can draw buildings, I can draw flowers, and anything. I'm really not good with characters. Not yet. Maybe I will get there at some point. But
wait. But who made the characters in the game jam? Didn't you make them?
No. When we entered the game jam, I was already looking for someone, for an artist to work with us for the other game, and that's how I found this girl. And the reason I contacted her is because she posted one of her works into an artist group on Facebook, which I was a part of, and I said, "Oh, look, this your character. It's really nice. It kind of reminds me of characters in Day of the Tentacle." And she said, "Oh, that's so good. Oh, yeah. I love Day of the Tentacle. That's one of my favorites. Oh, how cool." And that's how we started talking. And then she agreed to join us for the game jam. And so that's why we have characters that actually look like characters, because I wasn't the concept artist.
Yeah, they actually look human. It's like, I mean, the characters look great. It's just, so the backgrounds, everything else you do and she does, specifically the characters.
Yeah.
Really? Because it's such a, like, you I don't think you would tell that there's two people who, like, it's so, you synced so well, I think, in terms of the style, and it just works really well. You wouldn't think that there's two different people who made, different assets in the game.
It's three, actually, because we now have different concept artists. So some of the characters are from her, and then we got a new guy a few months ago, and then so some of his characters are already in the demo. So it's actually three different people.
Wow.
But because they're only doing concept, so the actual art that's in the game, I make that based on their concepts. It's just so once they have something, I can base a nice drawing on that. I just can't come up with an original face and humanoid shape.
Like,
so to say.
Come on, you know how
someone does it for me. I know.
You just can't put it on paper properly,
Kinda, yeah. Or maybe they're just not as cute, or they're not as they're too generic, because I draw the same eye for everyone, or the same nose, and then they don't have this sort of character that these guys have.
Okay, and so you get help from. Well, that's it's very nice that you found the artist and it works so well, because the demo is very. The visual side is definitely one of the things that makes Behind the Beyond stand out, because it's different in a way that a lot of people who might like the cartoonish look, like the old, the classic, Dave the Tentacle, of course, all Lucas, like Monkey Island and so on and so forth, like those types, people would like, I guess, would like Behind the Beyond because of that, and also people who like a bit more realistic visuals, they can still find something that's to their liking in your game, because they do look very human-like. It's realism, but it's like stylized, slightly caricatured realism, kind of like that. I'm gonna come up with a better word so you can put it in the marketing materials, but that's for later on. Now tell me a little bit about what you're using in terms of technology. What engine you're using for BTB, I guess. We have to find like a short, like Backstreet Boys, Behind the Beyond, BTB. It works.
Yeah, we call it that, amongst ourselves too. So if we don't want to write the whole thing. Yeah. So we based our engine on Unity, and we used to have that's I think that's the only. So we don't use any third-party stuff, anything else other than Unity in the game engine. We based it originally on a visual novel engine because we were kind of
Ren'Py?
rushing in
or
the,
not? Ren'Py
Sorry?
or Ren'Py or
Ink.
something else? Oh, okay. Oh,
Ink.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was okay for the game jam because we were, first of all, we were running out of time, so we didn't really have the time in 2 weeks to write a complete like point and click engine. So we thought, okay, well, this looks good, this works, this should be fine. And after that, after the game jam, we opted to rewrite the whole thing. But still in Unity, but we switched Ink out with our own stuff because we wanted to. There was, I think, since then they added this feature too. But when we started we started using it, it wasn't good for running 2 different threads, which kind of makes sense because if you're running a visual novel, you're just reading a book, and so there's only one thing that you ever have to like do or decide. But we wanted to have like conversations going on in the background, like with the gingerbread man who's constantly selling gingerbread, and there's the angry guy who is doing the conversation with the other guy in the tavern. So we wanted to do that, and Ink wasn't really suitable for that, and so we came up with our own kind of solution for that. And it's cool because partly that's the reason why we were able to add the different skills and everything, because we can and the day-night cycle and all the fancy stuff that we added, because we can, it's our own engine, so we do whatever we want basically.
You can also add geese to it, so that's pretty, geese patrolling. I really like that. That's a very nice touch. It was like them constantly moving while Johnny. That was I don't know why that hit me. I don't know. It was just funny.
Everyone
to see.
loves the geese.
yeah, they are adorable. It's just I don't know. They're alive, but they're like they're comical.
Yeah.
You don't really think as about geese as comical. They kind of go around and just eat off the ground. But no, those were I hope they're not fox food. I really hope the fox is not didn't lie to us about it, because I'm not sure, so I'm gonna wait for the full release to see what's the case there. But I really hope that the fox didn't lie to us about them, because
everyone is really suspicious about the fox.
It's a fox. You have to be. It's
I know.
In fairy tales, is like, who do you trust? I mean, okay, geese, they're not exactly talkative, but owls, you have to trust owls because they're smart. They're smart, and they're old and smart, and that's it. But foxes, no, foxes are sneaky, so you can't really trust them. Wolves, same thing. They're you can't trust them. But when it comes to this fox, I don't know. I don't know where to what to decide on that. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually that's actually a feeling we are going for with the fox. It's like you can't really.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know
if she's
good intentions, bad intentions. Yeah. I mean, she doesn't need a human. That's the whole thing. So why she, it feels like she has ulterior motives for, joining Johnny's, quest, let's say, or life as a somewhat partner, I guess. Now, given that you're using Unity, is that something that kind of makes you think of porting easier to other platforms? Are you thinking of bringing Behind the Beyond to because of Unity to multiple systems?
Yeah. We hope to do that. One of the things, one of the reasons why we chose Unity was that we hope, again, I express hope that we would be able to easily port the game to different platforms. So the other one is that because I come from a business software background, I know C#, so I knew that Unity does C# quite well. So that was like the obvious choice for me, because I had to, the original plan, or at least in the start, was that I am going to work on this alone. So I had to be able to do everything myself, and I was comfortable with C#. So I picked Unity. And with the different platforms. So yeah, on paper, it's just one click, but really in practice,
it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's definitely not.
So we had like, because we just, we only have Windows, we only have PCs like with Windows. We don't have any Macs or Linux machines, but because there was, even amongst my friends, there was interest in having a Mac or a Linux build. So he said, okay, so let's try this and see how it works. So we did a beta that was, I think, for about a month. And so we tested the Mac and bug fixed the Mac and the Linux builds without having actual machines that we could try it on. And it's like, okay, so it should work, but it doesn't. And we had the weirdest bugs, like disappearing buttons, or it's just, we had all the videos prepped. So some of the our cutscenes are pre-rendered videos, and it was fine on Windows, it was fine on Mac. It did nothing on Linux, and it's like, okay, so they can't see any of the videos. Why?
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a lot of tiny bugs. So there's this, and of course, if we want to port the game to any consoles, then you have the problem of control, because with a controller, you would need to, so rather than having like the classic pointing and clicking that you do with a mouse, if you have the stick, it would be better to control the character with the stick, so that as long as the player is pushing the stick, the character should be walking and then stop when he hits a wall. Whereas now, if you click, then there's a little logic that finds a path where the character can go from this point to this point, and then he walks there. So it's a slightly different approach to that. And also, if you want to do mobile, I'm not saying that we will, because we at the moment don't really have time or budget at the moment. But we'll see. I'm not saying no either. But if we do that, then we have to rethink the UI a lot, because obviously, technically, it could work on touchscreens. So on tablets, it should be fine. Maybe not the most convenient, because you don't have buttons. So how would you like use the keys, the key combinations that you use? So that's one challenge.
I mean, have you seen like little 8-year-old children playing Fortnite and PUBG on mobiles? They're fine. Like the little circle in left and right, they're fine with it. They have that dexterity. I mean, I'm not saying that children but you can definitely customize it so it works on a tablet at least.
And it's not just the touch screen aspect of it, but also because on mobiles you have a smaller screen, you would need to have the text, bigger buttons and bigger text, so that everything is readable, because there's a lot of talking going on.
It's an adventure game. It's kind of, I mean, you know what? There is one who's trying to do things different. I mean, it's probably not the only one, but I don't know if you know Theropods, but it's a pixel art point-and-click adventure game that's set in this era of dinosaurs, but the humans exist in it. And it was on Kickstarter. It had a successful Kickstarter. The point is that they're not having any dialogue in it. It's all like grunts and like screams and like stuff. So it's really interesting to see how that works because it limits you, but it also gives you freedom in other ways. So but for the most part, point-and-click adventure games, a lot of text. So which is a good thing. It's just it comes with other problems. Okay, I'm glad you agree. It's hard with it's hard because it's like in if we were in the same place, it would be easier to kind of get not have like pauses and everything. But something that you mentioned, and I was thinking about it, maybe you can touch on. So you have these videos when, the beginning, when you do certain things in certain missions, and I was thinking, okay, this is really nice. This is a very nice touch, but how often would you use that specific medium? Because it, to me at least, it feels like it's like that would be a lot of work. It's very nice to have, but it would be a lot of work to maybe make a small video for, I don't know, every mission, for example, every quest, maybe not side missions, but like everything has, and at least in the demo, everything has a video. The bar fights, that's one thing. Then the geese, actually with the geese you have multiple videos for multiple nights. So yeah. I mean, to me, it's great. I really like how that plays out, but that seems to me like that's a lot of work. Is that something that you kind of want to keep at the same cadence, like as often as it is in the demo for the full release?
Kinda, yes. Yeah. Some of the parts, surprisingly, some of the animations in the videos are much easier to do than usually the ones that don't involve any characters moving or speaking per se. But yeah, so we are at a kind of crossroads with that. In terms of how we are going to keep that, because we definitely want to keep the cutscenes, but there are some technical, well, not issues, but things that we need to consider and then come up with a good enough solution. So because we, first of all, because we switched kind of last minute, so it happened in this spring when we switched the last big switch. When we switched to Spine to do the skeletal animations instead of sprite sheets. So when we did that, it opened up a lot of opportunities for a lot of like cool stuff that we can do with animations in general in the game. So like it's not in there, but it will be. So like characters can actually look at you when they speak to you, so you don't have to fix their eyes to one point, and then so they can actually follow your movement even with their heads. Or we hope to be able to do lip sync, because at the moment they're just talking nonsense, and it doesn't have anything to do with the actual words that they say. But technically, we could do lip sync if you wanted to. We just didn't, because it happened so last minute, this switch. We didn't really have time to experiment with it for the demo. But we plan to do that, and that's a really cool feature. And we did it in the, lip sync in the videos as well. But now we only have English voiceover, so that's fine. And it's going to be in game. It's going to be again fine if we do other languages or other voiceovers, because we have lip sync, so we can. It's not gonna be an issue if they say something different, or usually it's the length of the sentences that differs between different languages. So that's gonna be fine. But what are we going to do with the videos? Because we can't have different videos for all languages, because obviously you could, but again,
you know what?
I feel,
who doesn't want 27 gigabytes only of videos? Like it's like intro EN, intro IT, intro BR. Like for each language that you put in. Yeah. That's basically
right? why we. Or did I mention that why we switched to Spine?
Because it's better.
In the end, I know it's better,
it's a lot better.
It's a lot better, but why we?
It's more popular. That's for I mean, at least from what I've heard, it's a lot more popular among game developers.
It is quite popular, but we actually I didn't plan to. I said, okay, well, I see that this is a better way of doing stuff, but because we already had like buttloads of animations done already in the sprite sheet way, I said, okay, let's just get the demo out because it's almost done. I don't want to redo the whole thing just because this one is cooler. We will do it, but let's get the demo out. But we said, well, we actually can't get the demo out in this way because we had so many different animations. It wasn't even done yet, so we had to. I would have had to do some more. And already we had so many. The game was huge, and the textures for these animations for the sprite sheets were so big that I actually hit the limit of my PC, so I wasn't able to make a build because there was so much.
I mean, the solution:
stuff.
get more RAM. You know, like basically, what's probably that's what,
but
more storage, more RAM. Probably that's RAM. Probably was one of the,
Yeah,
or,
but when is the wall that you're gonna hit? When there's just you can't fit in anymore, and you would still need more. And it was even for the players, so it was already like 1.5 or 1.6 gigabytes or something, and it wasn't even finished yet. So I would have to like duplicate some of the animations, but with slightly different positions for Johnny's hand or wearing the glasses or something else. So we would have had to be different texture, each of them, and we would have to duplicate each of his animations with the different slight modifications. So and it was crazy, and we said, well, okay, this is not going to work.
Okay.
So I'm sensing that something similar would happen with the videos if we just keep on like doing
right.
the same thing with adding the different languages. Also, if it was not a video but sort of like an in-game animation, then it would fix the sort of continuity errors that sometimes appear, because like we fixed a lot of things already with the day-night cycles, because that was originally we didn't think of it that it would be weird to the players that if a cutscene ends in the morning and actually in the game it was in the night, then it's confusing that I just saw that it was morning and now it's dark again, so what happened? But if you go into a situation like if you're wearing the glasses, then you could have the whole cutscene and have Johnny wear the glasses in the cutscene, so that would be cool. Also, you could have lip sync, and there's lots more like cool features that you could have if it's not a pre-rendered thing but an animation. So we are at the crossroads with this with this decision.
Okay, well, so is it just like time and money, like, or you just have to decide on something and it's like, whatever we're going to do, that's it, and is it the budget, like if we get this much, then let's do it like this, if we have more time, let's do it like this, or what would be the cutoff that you're looking for?
I would like to use just one software for animation, so that would be cool. So if we can reasonably do everything with just using Spine and not having videos, I would opt for that. In any case, regardless of any other like voiceovers or stretch goals on Kickstarter or whatever, just because I don't want to keep having to sort of re-rig the characters in this software and then the other software the same way, because we had a lot of trouble doing that. Some things were not in sync, and then it shows, and then it's a lot more bug fixing. So it would be easier if we can do it. I'm not sure how it would fit into the whole structure as in like programming terms.
I mean, it's you can do it. It's fine. You just, again, 3 years alone. You put yourself in a cave, and it's just eventually a game comes out. You know how it is. How it's like with you put like monkeys to write on a typewriter, and eventually they there's they'll come up with a novel. Obviously, you're human, so you're much better than all those, So you just put Kate in a room, give her some,
just
coffee,
give me some coffee.
Exactly, yeah. And eventually, a great game is gonna come out. It's just it's a matter of time, It's focus and time.
Yeah.
Now something that we haven't touched on, and it's absolutely lovely in the demo. The music. So the music is, well, I don't know. Okay, I don't know how people feel about it, but it's so much similar to our folk music, to Romanian folk music, and it's such a it's like it takes me back to the childhood. Well, yeah, well, there was a lot of folk music back then because communism, and they were promoting like national songs and stuff like that. But there was a lot of folk music like that, and it's that like whistle that's used so much in folk music. It was so sweet to hear it, and like throughout the demo. And I was thinking, for me it was a really sweet experience, the audio experience overall. But what do you think in terms of the themes as you progress through the story? And since you revealed exclusively here that there's going to be multiple worlds, kingdoms, will those have different themes? Are you gonna have kind of different styles, maybe different genres of music for those kingdoms, or maybe something different for maybe the city, the castle where I guess Johnny's gonna go, because that's the next the next big thing to go for him to go to a bigger town.
So now all the music is from the same artist. So it's a band called Kerekes Band, and they do this sort of sorry,
very Hungarian name, Kerekes. It's like well, that's good. Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. So they do this kind of, it's a unique mix of like folk music and some modern styles. Like they do this, sometimes they do this sort of reggae and funk kind of mix. Sometimes they do a lot of Jimi Hendrix and AC/DC and things like mixed up with some folk music. So it's really cool. And some or some more like dance and pop music. So they have a really they work with a really wide palette, I think. So so there's a lot of different styles that we can, or different music that we can choose from. And it depends on the money, like how, because we are licensing this music, so it's not like they're doing it from the goodness of their hearts. So business is business, But they're really nice guys, by the way. So yeah.
Like they're nice guys, but business. Like they will give me one free song if my life depended on it. Like they still need like 1,000 euros for a song. It's like, but they're nice guys.
Well, we had a budget and then we worked it out, so it's completely fine. It's just
no, but it's normal. I mean, they're doing work, of course. You want to compensate it.
Yeah. So the variety of the music is it depends on partly on our budget. But I kinda want to continue using their music because they already have like all kinds of different genres that we can pick from. So it's diverse enough that it wouldn't be a problem. What I like to do is kind of have some sort of a theme, or like a thematic kind of intuition, some sort. I will try to look for a better word. So it's like I'm trying to suggest stuff to the players with the music.
Right.
So, for example,
a mood to set a specific mood or atmosphere with the music specifically.
Not just that, but if you notice, the same song is used in the background of the watermill, and then the cutscenes for the Wandering Light. So if without even like listening to, like purposefully listening to the music, I am hoping to like give these sort of little hints to the players that okay, this is somehow connected because they have the same music, or they have the same instruments. So like it's a very nice touch. It's so weird to say because I came up with the idea. So yeah, yay me, a pat on the back. It was a really good idea, a nice idea. That for the videos, for the where you meet the fox first, it's the same it's the same music for each video, but it kind of because they're so it's what's unique about their music is that they usually don't have vocals. Sometimes they do, but they usually don't. So instead of vocals, they use this flute that you mentioned. It's the shepherd's flute, or I'm not sure how it's called in English, but it's like
it would be the best translation. Yeah. That's literally like what you translated.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that instrument is the singer in like or the front guy in their music, and so I used that for the fox. So when the fox starts talking, or the fox comes into the scene, and then something happens when okay, now this is the fox. That's the exact moment when this shepherd's flute theme comes in the music.
So you like players to pick up on
kind of associate the with the character,
specific sounds, or like some specific changes in the music with characters and places, and maybe help them with puzzles like that. Like so, like these may be connected.
Kind of subconsciously.
Right, that's pretty subtle, That's risky. That's pretty subtle. I mean, it's a very interesting idea, and it's not like it's there's nothing wrong with it. It's just it'd be interesting to see how many people like rationalize that it's happening. You know what I mean? So it might happen exactly like you said, unconsciously. Like your brain makes connections because it's not like you can hear music for an hour. And you can, your brain knows like, oh, it was repetitive between, minute 1 and, minute 15 and then minute 6, so you don't realize that, your brain picks up on those things. It just does. And you want, to implement something like this, which is very interesting to link characters and maybe places and music, so on. That's very cool. Yeah. It's hard to do, I think. It's like, I don't know if you're studying human psychology, but it's like, or I don't know, but like pattern recognition. But yeah, that's really cool. And like, so that would be for like you'd think of it to do like for multiple missions. For like each mission would have like musical clues like that, or only specific ones.
Some of them, but it's not like it's not a clue that you need that you would need to solve the puzzle. It's just like an extra little hint that if you pick up on that, then you might figure some things out that maybe otherwise it wouldn't be that obvious.
Or if you're stuck, you might try something because of the similarity that you're unconsciously picking up and go there.
I'm basically going for that feeling, when you watch a movie and you figure out the solution before the main guy does, or if something clicks and then you see you finally you solve a puzzle, and then I can hear the music. It's definitely going to be this guy is coming up in like in the next moment, or I bet it has to do something with this other mission that I was in, because I can hear the same theme.
Yeah, that's very cool.
So I'm going for kind of that effect.
Yeah, a very subtle thing. That would be really, and this is you know what? I don't think I didn't really picked it up in the demo myself, but I don't have a musical ear, so it's like it's. It's like hitting a wall. It doesn't matter, but that's a really cool thing. If and see the player's response to it. Like if just to see like if you could get statistics as to how people connect things around, if they go to a specific area more often, and you're like, oh, that clue kind of worked out, right? Like it doesn't have to be. You need a lot of statistics for that, but it's a lot of data for that. That's cool. Something that we didn't talk about. What's at this point in time? What would be the timeline estimate as to bringing BTB Behind the Beyond to fruition for the base platforms for PC especially?
At the moment, we are looking at early 2023. Yeah, hopefully during the spring. And we'll see. It all depends on a lot of things, because I have this huge epic idea in my head, and I know that probably we won't have enough time or resources to implement literally everything that I have planned, but we might. So it depends on funding, and not just Kickstarter, but there are other places where we could get some funding. So it all depends on that, how much is going into the game, and also how fast it's going into the game, because obviously if we have, like, I could probably use another person for art, or rather to do PR and and accounting instead of me.
Doing.
I would love that. I would love that. So yeah, but now at the moment we are looking at 2023, early 2023.
And since, I mean, it's, I was talking yesterday with Clara and Maria from in Santo about funding, and obviously people understand that it's not going to take 20,000 euros, in your case 15,000 euros to finish the game, to make a full game. That's it would be insane to even think that. So like, what other avenues of financial backing are you looking at? Like maybe grants from, I don't know, like governments, the various like cultural programs and such. Maybe publisher. Have you contacted or tried to shop behind the Beyond round?
Yes, all of that.
Like, oh yeah, we want all the money.
Like,
it's like Unreal,
all of that.
Epic Games, like we don't have the game. Like, we're not using Unreal Engine. We don't know if we're releasing on Epic Games Store, but yes, give us an Unreal grant. Yes, like, it's, 100,000 euros. Why not? Yeah. I mean, you could put it like, I don't think it's necessarily like with the Unreal grant. Actually, I don't know if it's necessarily to have like an Unreal Engine based game. Like, even if you put the game on Epic Games Store, you may be able to submit. I'm not 100% sure. You might be forced to change engine. that's
for that probably, but it's more like there are options. So there's plan A, and there's B, and there's C, and there's D if all else fails. Or maybe in addition, because sometimes they can work. Right. Yeah. Sometimes we can have both. Either or. Well, nothing is set in stone at the moment, so I can't really. I wouldn't like to say more about these things, because I just unless it's there, unless it's all done and whatever. Signed. I don't want to spread rumors or anything, or start rumors.
I mean, you can.
Yeah, but there are options, definitely. Other than Kickstarter, there are government grants, but I'm not sure if we would qualify or if we will qualify. There's non-government grants as well. There's publishers. That's about it. Yeah, and there's Kickstarter. So that's plan A, B, C, and D there. and of course we can. That's all the plans. And if nothing succeeds, then
but that's no. Okay, no way.
Use their own money.
No, that's not the idea.
So
the idea. Okay, so you can get past.
That's like plan Z, or.
In no plan version is the Kickstarter not going to be successful. So, like, in addition to that, that's. Oh, like,
yeah.
I think that's how you might need to think about it. Like,
and
so this is going to work.
Option A, B, C, and D.
Yeah, and for additional funds, I don't think the Kickstarter is going to be successful. Don't worry about that. Just chillax. Just go sleep. You're like, you need to. You said you were tired. Just go sleep a little bit. Just it's fine. Sleep 12 hours a day for the next 10 days. Come back. You're gonna see the sum come up, and then it's gonna be like the last 48 hours when you get a lot more money, and it's gonna be fine. So don't worry about it. That's you don't have to worry, right? Another until November 18th. It's fine. Yeah. Since we're speaking about the Kickstarter, what would you kind of like transmit in terms of the what you're offering to people like at higher grade tier? So the $20 equivalent tier would get you a copy of the game. But for for people who want to invest more, like what are the stuff that you're offering? Like for example, the cookbook. Like why cookbook? And what's that gonna have? Like, is gonna be like something like specific from Hungary? Is it like the region? Is it gonna combine recipes from multiple regions? What's the for example, what's the plan for that?
Or the cookbook again was inspired by D&D because they also came up with a with a cookbook.
How do you
like there is an official D&D
really?
Cookbook which I have.
Oh, what pizza?
And it's no. It's like in world stuff that you could like you could bake your own elf bread. What
do you mean? There's no elves. Yeah. Like there's no elves.
I know, but it's
like there's no such thing. Like fun. Humans eat bread. Okay, it's fun. Yeah. No, but it's really funny because like what? It's not like we have orc meat. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah. No, it's like regular food, but right. it dressed up. It's dressed up in a fantasy kind of in a D&D setting. So, and I love the idea, and it would be, I think, if we can ever get together again with like actual people in actual places and we used to before the plague. And then
that's
then
a good way of saying it. Yeah, before the plague. Because I bet you when the plague was happening, people were not so scared of the plague than they are of this. But yeah.
Probably, yeah.
No, it's
So
they had stuff to do.
So yeah, so we can get back to that point. I would love to host some face-to-face RPG sessions with our friends again, and it would be so cool because I do cook a lot, and I used to make dinner. So when we played a game and they would come over, we would always start with dinner first, and then we would play our little game. And it would be just so nice because we are all for thematic integration. So we did lots of like I have a dragon skull somewhere. It's plastic, but it's I have like, that. I have all sorts of like
it's plastic. Like yes, like you could have gotten a real dragon skull. It's like they're not real. It's like what I mean. Like it's plastic.
I know,
like,
yeah.
You don't have to say it in a bad way because it's like like there's no other skulls. You can't actually have a dragon skull.
Could be made of like.
Yeah,
something that looks like a dragon skull, but
but it'd still be not a real dragon skull, So if it's fake dragon skull, like it doesn't matter really the material unless it's like diamond, then you can make body out of it, So.
Yeah, so we have all sorts of these props, and I really like the idea when if we have like props for puzzles that we have in the game. So if there's a letter that in the game that some character wrote to another character, then I like to have an actual letter printed out, and so we can as a team with the party we can look at it and if there's and decipher it if there's a code in it or something like that. So we like these sort of gimmicks. So I would love to have like D&D food prepared for the players if they come over for dinner. Then have some I don't know dwarf stew with like elf bread and whatever. So that's kind of our cookbook would be something like this. It's basically based on Hungarian cuisine. Because there is also it's considered weird around the world or unusual.
I don't think enough people have it because it's definitely probably tastier and easier on the stomach than let's say like Asian food, you know what I mean, or Indian food in terms of the spices used and everything. I think it's easier on the digestive tract than others.
Well, it depends. It can be quite heavy.
Yeah, but depends on the it's not gonna send you anyway. We're not gonna. But
I know what you mean, but well, there are other problems that it might cause.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, come on, what? Yeah, like yes, your arteries will be full with, like you're gonna have a heart
Definitely.
attack because you have, too much meat and everything. But other than that, I mean, it's, like the food around in these regions, they're not like excessively anything. They have aroma, but it's not an exaggeration of like spiciness or saltiness, or I don't think there's any. Well, maybe salt. I think people like here a lot
Maybe,
like
yeah.
salt too much. But other than that, it's like it's not overly sweet. It's not overly spicy. Not overly hot. So it's in that regard, I think it's easier for anyone to have
Yeah.
food from from Hungary than from, I don't know, Thailand. I'm not knocking Thailand, Thai food. I'm just saying, like as a comparison.
I think it also kind of depends on the geographical area.
Yeah, but if you take all the humans in all the world and you put them, something, local from, Thailand and something from Hungary, I think it's not about the taste. It's about like how your body processes it. I think maybe the Hungarian food would be easier on the body than, overall for the majority of people.
You say it because you haven't tried the chili paprika lecho that my dad makes.
No, but is that going to be in the cookbook so I can actually make it at home? Is that one of the
For example, cool. Yeah, kinda. Yeah. And it's it's the one that is so hot that if you put the spoon in it melts the spoon.
That's not a real thing.
It's not as in temperature, that in spiciness.
Come on,
That's what they say. I know you. Yeah. I mean,
maybe
like
behind the beyond that. No, I'm joking. Maybe behind the beyond the spoon melts, but in the real world, I bet people eat it and they can actually use spoons. But since you mentioned the things that you want to have like in game too, are the playing cards? Is that going to be like a mini game or something that it's you're implementing in BTB?
Yes. So okay. we want to add this mini game. So it's not our invention. It's an actually existing card game. It's called Ulti, and it's like the Hungarian national card game, official national card game of Hungary is Ulti, and it's played with German suited cards. So it's like it kind of has the same sort of elements as like the French one, but with different kind of
how many
different
cards?
Symbols.
Like
less. It has less cards. It's like either 32 or 36. It depends on which one you get or which one you want. But so it is an actual game, and it's huge in Hungary. I don't play Ulti or any sort of all these card games. I know a few, but I'm not really a card player. But it's a thing, and my husband and my father-in-law they are trying to get me involved in learning how to play Ulti because they love it and they play it a lot, and they have been trying to get me involved for years, and I always said, oh no, I can't bother to learn the rules, but I will have to now because we will implement this as a mini game in our game.
And you'll have to program every bit of it. That's pretty much it, right? So it's like
I will finally learn how to play.
They'll have their fun, like beating you because they have a lot more experience, and then you'll have to suffer through actually coding the damn game. To make it. Okay,
but
so
I'll be an expert after that. So and it's not and it's not just that we're adding a mini game just for fun. Well, it's fun, but we are also adding a small storyline that it's involved around the card game. So there is going to be the issue. So they are planning to cancel. They are canceling the yearly annual Ulti championships or tournament.
Wow.
that's usually in between the different kingdoms. And so word is that it's going to be cancelled, and so there is going to be some a smaller storyline around that. But you don't actually have to, like, we are not forcing the players to learn the game if they don't want to. So it's going to be optional to learn the rules, because it can be, well, it can be a bit overwhelming at first. That's partly why I said, okay, I don't want to do anything with this game. But I believe that I can do a sort of a tutorial kind of way, because I usually I have a different way of understanding as other people, so a different way of thinking as other people do usually. So sometimes if they are explaining something to me, especially in like board game rules, I can't be bothered. I can't concentrate for more than 10 minutes. And by the time they finish, I can't remember half of it. So I'm
It's
more like, okay, let's
you
start
looked
playing
into-
because I am bored.
Yeah. Oh, is that the thing? Is like, do you learn easier like actually playing? Is that one of the
I do,
like
or maybe it's sometimes they do it with games that they don't explain. So in a good tutorial, you don't see that, you don't notice that it is a tutorial.
Right, yeah.
So and they're not doing what we are doing in the demo. That is just throw the players in the deep end, and then okay, so here are all the controls. Have at it. And so you first spend like 10 minutes reading all the stuff and then trying to figure out how we want to play the game, and instead of playing it. And then if you introduce these elements one by one, then it's much easier to understand, and it's not boring because you are actually doing something without having to know all the rules that there are. So I am trying to do something like that, because in my experience, because I was trying to learn this game from experts who have been playing for years and years. So they said, okay, so these are the rules, and by the way, this is this strategy, and if you do that, then there's this other strategy. But be careful, because if you have those kinds of cards, that means that the other person has these kinds of cards, and then the other person has these other types of cards, and so you have to play this, and then you have to play this, and then you hope for that, and it's like. So can we just start from the beginning again? And I already feel like I'm kind of outnumbered, and feel like I'm a noob in between experts, and that's not fun. So I will try to sort of ease people into the rules. That's how I'm going to learn the game as well.
So when you say that you're going to ease people, are you thinking of like adding certain elements as a precursor to actually getting to the mission where that's required for you to play in that regard? Or is it, what I mean? So is it are you going to make the person start learning the game closer to when they actually get the mission, or are you going to sprinkle certain things that they won't notice that will help them later on with learning to play the game? The minigame inside BTB, I mean.
Just the minigame. No, for the minigame, I think because there are some rules that you need to know, like the basic rules of play. You need to know that. So there's no skipping that one. But after that, so maybe there are some situations that I can, so I can, instead of having like a completely random deck of cards, I could say that okay, so this is going to be the tutorial deck for or the tutorial hand for this bit, and this is the cards that each character is going to have, and so I know exactly, I can prepare a fixed situation for the player, so they can, so it's not like okay, so you're right in the middle against the expert and this is what you have to do. It's just instead, okay, so this is how you play the game, we are playing this version, this is your goal, now go and try to do this one thing and see if they succeed, and if they succeeded, then okay, so here's here's the next challenge, a bigger one. So let's add some more stuff into this and see if you can succeed in that, and so on.
Yeah, it will be like just throwing ideas out there. You don't have to use anything, or I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not assuming that you would put any value necessarily on my ideas. It would be maybe cool to, if this is like a very popular game, to, as you go through the game world, you would see people playing and maybe like preparing for the championship, and maybe you could be put in a situation where you could observe them playing and maybe help with one very small specific thing in their game, but while you do that, you see them playing like you said, a preset game, and they could observe like one thing, and then it's like you do missions along the way, and it comes naturally in the sense that everyone's playing, so of course you're gonna look up and what are you doing, like because you're curious, everyone's curious, and like, so what are you doing, like I'm playing and I'm losing, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I'm playing like this, and I should do this and this, and and maybe that's the one of the ways to get the player to notice the game and to start understanding it before you actually put them in, like, hey, here, like, this is a mission, you want to take it, or
Yeah, exactly.
Just throwing ideas out there. What can I do? I'm, I guess I'm not going to be co-creator at, on Behind the Beyond. Whatever, it's fine. My feelings aren't hurt at all. So anything, anything in terms of unrelated to BTB this time? Anything in terms of games? PC games, doesn't have to be, actually any types of game, doesn't have to be like, it could be tabletop, it doesn't matter, like anything that you're looking forward to playing when you have the time after spring 2023, maybe when you have a bit of time left.
I really miss having the time to just play whatever I want, because I haven't
honestly
I haven't had time.
It's in your future, within the next decade somewhere.
Hopefully, trying to think, because honestly I haven't had as much fun in games ever since I finished Witcher 3, so I backed a couple of point and click games, so I'm waiting for those to come out and then see the finished games.
And when you say I mean just like just start the game and they're like, oh, that's cool. Back to work. It's like back to BTV. I have to code the the ulti game. So I
probably have like for lunch break or something. I can check out one of the games. I'll try to remember where I left off.
I mean, it's gonna be difficult, but it's. But I mean, obviously the life of the indie game developer, right? Like you're doing so much, then there's no time left for you actually enjoying games. It's like it's this old gag. It's like, oh, you're a game developer? Yes. How many games are you playing? Like, none. I haven't played in years. It's like that, because obviously I'm making this, so obviously I don't have time for that. Now, any anything that you that we haven't mentioned that you'd like to point out, anything that you want to highlight that we haven't touched on? Your hair color, maybe? I don't know. Jesus. I'm joking. It's fine. It's good, isn't it? It's badass. What can I say?
Yeah, someone asked me a question, like I think yesterday, what was my favorite folktale, and I said I don't have any favorites in literally anything, because I usually have like 5 to 10 different things that I really like, but I can't pick a favorite, except in colors. So blue is my favorite color. That's the only favorite I have, I think.
So is your favorite song in the world Blue by Eiffel 65?
No.
Are you kidding me? It's a great Eurodance song. I mean, I'm sorry,
I know.
Yeah, okay. All right. So
I know,
it's
I
not
was
that
really
one.
into it when it was in the radio, but yeah. No, it's not.
Everyone
not
was,
that one.
because they bombarded us with it until we all liked
Yeah.
it. That's the whole thing. It's like back in that, back in, I don't know, 98 when that came out, I don't remember. like you only heard that song for like, you know, like 2 weeks, and then everyone knew it and everyone liked it. That's how it worked, I guess. But yeah, different times. Now we don't have music anymore. Well, kinda. It's a different thing. It's harder to find, I think. But I mean, I think it's harder to find, like, if like, is it they're more niche, you know, like it's you have to look for the genre, and you know, you have to, you know, search more to find, you know, something that you like, maybe. Like, it's not as, you know, you turn on the TV and then it has, like, you know.
Yeah, if you're not into the mainstream stuff, that is.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, if you, yeah, obviously, if you don't like if you don't want the mainstream stuff, it's harder to find, you know, because, you know, mainstream, it's never mind. I'm not gonna comment on that, because Blue was mainstream, and it's a very good song.
It was.
It's all right. So I don't know what else, because I've been keeping you for too long, and I'm not gonna ask about Mage Knight because I have no idea what it is. But
why would you want to ask me? But
because I found an
that
interview with you. It's like written down, and you talked about Mage Knight that you liked, and really weird interview. It's like, I'm kidding. I like to trash people because I do the best interviews because I actually care. Yes, I literally just said that no one else cares. That's very insensitive, but it doesn't matter. Insensitive. But you mentioned Mage Knight, and I don't know what game that is. It's probably a tabletop game, because you've worked on tabletop games, right? Before, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, is that so? That's a tabletop game specifically.
Yeah. It's a board game, and it's one of my favorites. Okay. One of my favorite games. Yeah, it's somewhat complicated. So it's in a fantasy setting. Yeah, obviously. Yeah, it's a fantasy setting. There's lots of like this magic and stuff.
Who named it?
Involved.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it's like, was this game made in 1971?
It's a franchise.
Really?
It's a franchise. It was. I think there's a comic book series or something, or maybe it's a visual. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the lore, but I love the game. It's an amazing game. It's very, very tactical, and so basically there's an exploration element to it. So you have like these weird shaped tiles that you uncover as you go with your heroes. It has minis, so there you go. It has minis. That's that's a very important bit. I have other games that have way more minis than this one has, but it does. And so you have your little hero, and you walk around, and then you basically either fight monsters or fight each other, or pick up resources, and or there are some other ways where you can gather some victory points, and whoever gets the most points by the end wins the game. And so it can be, it's a really complex and interesting game, because it can be played in a cooperative mode, so you can play with your friends together against the common enemy, or against time, so you have like X rounds to finish the game and then conquer the last city on the map, otherwise you lose. So there's like lots of different modes that you can do, and it's really tactical, and I just like the mechanisms, and it looks really cool, and it's a cool setting, I think.
By any chance, do you remember like around what time this came out, or like the game specifically, not the franchise, but the game? Because I'm thinking like what you described, you literally described Heroes of Might and Magic and King's Bounty from 89.
Yes, exactly.
Heroes of Might and Magic 3 is my favorite game. It's like it's by far the best. So
that's exactly why I like it.
And then because
you can play with your friends, and then it's
exactly. I mean, come on, Heroes Hot Seat. I'm sorry, but Hot Seat. Come on. If you haven't played Heroes Hot Seat with like 400 people in the same room.
Yeah, I did. And then we used to, I don't know if it was just our machine or the copy that we had or something, but there was definitely a bug.
Slow down. Oh.
The Hot Seat. There was it would go on for some time, and then there was one specific date, and if the game lasted for that long, it would break down.
Crashed.
Doesn't matter. It just wouldn't go to the next day. doesn't matter how many players or how many. So we knew beforehand that okay, it was quite a long time. So it was like
250 turns. Can't you finish in 250
4 months
turns
or something? So we knew that okay, we are coming up on that moment, so we can.
4 months isn't that long.
Oh, 4 months and 4 years.
No, because 4 months.
I know.
Is like,
I'm done. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't remember exactly.
No,
but,
it's possible
but
to be.
I
like
remember
that,
that it was a specific length where it said, okay, if we try to progress to the next day or the next week, because it counts in weeks, then was it in days?
In days.
Anyway,
days.
so when we went to the next week, the start of the next week, then it would crash and it just wouldn't go.
Oh.
Yeah, but Heroes, that's nice, and that's actually why I like this game, or why I said okay, I'm gonna keep this. There's actually an official Heroes of Might and Magic game,
board game, like a
board game. But But I think Mage Knight is much closer to the game than the official Heroes board game.
Well, because it was probably made by Ubisoft, and Ubisoft bastardized Might and Magic to. I mean, I have respect for them for actually putting money into the franchise, but the way they handled it was like, why? Just why? It was better like before in the 3DO days, I think, because they had some continuity with the lore and with the RPGs and so on. But nice.
It's just more like the game feels a lot like. I mean, Mage Knight feels a lot more like playing Heroes of Might and Magic than the actual Heroes game. Yeah,
because they
like the Heroes board game. So
because they screwed it up, and they outsourced it to Ubisoft Shanghai probably, and had some people who who've never played any Heroes
actually
games.
made it, so it's not that bad. People say that it's not that bad. We went to Essen when it came out because we had other board games that we designed, and they came out in the same year or so. And so we checked it out. So I watched the demo of it, and I said, now I'm sticking to Mage Knight. It still feels a lot more like the Heroes that I know and love than this one.
The pre-Might and Magic era. Because they changed, like, it's like Might and Magic Hero something. It's like, no, it's Heroes of Might and Magic. You don't change it. It's like, because Might and Magic was the RPG series. Anyway, for everyone watching, in the description, there's links to the Kickstarter page. Where can people find you on social media so they can follow you and the development of Behind the Beyond?
Oh, anywhere, basically. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. We have a Twitch channel with 2 videos now.
I mean, you gotta put on YouTube because Twitch does. I don't think the Twitch
YouTube. Yeah.
So wait,
YouTube,
is it Behind the Beyond? So what should people search for? Behind the Beyond or Sugarpunch Games?
Both. Or like, either.
There's no consistency. Like we made Instagram is Sugarpunch.
No,
Twitter.
No,
Twitter is actually
have.
You should
Twitter and Facebook. We have both.
Okay.
But for YouTube and Twitch and Instagram, there's Sugarpunch Games. But on Twitter and on Facebook, we have both. So Sugarpunch Games is everywhere. Oh, we are everywhere. But we can.
TikTok,
you can also find
Snapchat.
Behind the Beyond.
Oh, I would really like to see what you put on Snapchat.
Not that.
It's like it's like you have a private Snapchat. It's like what are the images? It's like it's just C# screenshots. It's like if you want to look at that. I mean,
we not on Snapchat, but I do plan to stream after the Kickstarter. So if I get back to actually developing the game or doing some more artwork, then I plan to do some streams on Twitch about both the art and the development. So there will be some angry C# coding and debugging on there in the future, I hope.
I mean, what's the alternative? What's the language, the Unity language that they have? Because they had JavaScript, right, and C#, and they put what's the new one? Well, it's not new anymore, but they have like their own scripting language. I don't remember. What's the name of it? I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm very disconnected with the world these days.
Everyone just uses C#. It's fine. Last thing that I should have asked before: voiceovers. Like you have in the demo, you have lovely voiceover when it comes to the videos, but and well, in throughout, is that like, was that important for you to have the voiceover? Is that something that you definitely want to have in the game too, to make sure that you have at least English voiceover for the full release?
I personally like voiceovers because I don't like reading that much. So
that's a good reason, I guess. See, that's why you don't. That's why you haven't learned to be like the ultimate ulti player, because you haven't, read like, I don't know, 10 books on strategies and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I prefer to have voiceover and with the subtitles on. But yeah, and for that it was for the English voiceover. It was kind of easy and cheap because we only had to pay for the studio that we hired, because I'm part of an amateur theater group here in the little English town that I live in, and so there are loads and loads of very talented local amateur actors and actresses, and they're really nice people, and they were interested in doing the voiceover. So basically, they did it for free, and they loved it. And it's the best thing, that it's a win-win situation, because they love to do stuff like this, and I love to have stuff like this. So exactly. So it's kind of everyone's
happy. Would you like
happy.
to be in my game? It's like, yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, it's a different thing, especially for them, like different opportunities. And of course, if you with the funding, you would hire them for the full game and so on and so forth. So that's still an opportunity for something to come up. And with games, it's like you can actually make a pretty decent living as a voiceover artist, because there's so many games, there's so many projects, and such variety that someone who gets into this business and they're good and have work ethic, they can have like jobs like 365 days a year, no problem, because so many people looking for that. So so if for anyone watching, check out the especially the Kickstarter, right? So it's running until October 18th. It doesn't have a high goal, so you can definitely, yes, November, did I say October?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, November 18th 2021, and October is gone. It's done. It's done. We're in November, going to November. And I mean, you've seen, there's you have the demo out, you can try it out, you can see what it's about. It looks good, it plays really well. The RPG mechanics, you don't have to take my word for it that they're seamless in the gameplay part. Just go out, try out the demo, and again, you can pledge, you can help out. It's not a huge goal, so I think they can I'm sure they can pass it. Just get them definitely over the voiceover, because I really want to hear the full game when I stream it in spring 2023. I want to stream it, and I want to do. I don't want to, do bad Hungarian accents while streaming it. I want actors to actually do everything and have a good experience on that. So thank you so much. Sorry for keeping you more than probably you planned.
It's all right.
You can provide bad feedback after this, and closing words on you, anything.
Please support us on Kickstarter! Yay! that's really all my days are about that, and right. Yeah. So we really hope to. We want to finish this game, because this is going to be. This is going to be pretty awesome if it gets implemented the way that we thought out to implement it as this epic adventure that we would like you, everyone, to invite on. And it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, all the the mega game ideas, the stuff that's gonna be cut out probably because of time and reason, it's going to be Behind the Beyond too. So it's starting a franchise.
Definitely.
So you helping fund Behind the Beyond is gonna fund the full franchise. So go there, check it out. You have time, you know, like 3 more weeks for sure to back it up, and just don't wait until the last 48 hours or something. Do it faster if you can, because it's really stressful. If they can, you know, move past the goal, you know, comfortably before those 48 hours, the last 48 hours, that would be great, because it's too much stress, and it's, you know, no one wants that for anyone. So thanks again. Thank you, Kate. Just stay on the line. Don't, you know, everyone else is gonna go away. Yeah. Thank you. And for me, just, you know, subscribe, all that. I'm not gonna, you know, plug my stuff. Just if you have any money, give it to Behind the Beyond, and do that, because, you know, I'll be fine living, you know, in a trash can. I'm gonna play for a trash can somewhere. It's fine. Thank you again, and I'll see you everyone again tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna play Saint Kotar, another point-and-click adventure game that was on Kickstarter, had a successful Kickstarter, and I backed. I got a key yesterday. The game came out today, and, you know, I'm gonna play tomorrow. It's gonna be creepy. It's gonna be fun. Thank you, and have an awesome day.